pick all these guys, and then I heard too, Walt, that they signed Lions signed the Cooper, the edge rusher from Houston. I think they liked him so much they gave him, they signed him. You know what I'm saying? And I think Keith Cooper, I think that's his name. Another guy, defensive end, big strong kid, man. Looks like he can get to the quarterback. Um, we can start to show off, talk about first Isaac Tesla. I think he's a good player. I really do. Just what we saying in the pre-show, I'll say it again real quick. The only problem I had with Brad Holmes taking him when he did is because I wanted Landon Jackson. And Landon Jackson ironically plays for Arkansas at defensive end, and I wanted him. I think Buffalo took. I think he went the next pick or the next two picks after that, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the only problem I had with it. You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted Landon Jackson to play defensive end, but I don't hate the player. You know what I'm saying? I don't dislike the player, and just like the other two shows, Walt, I think people gonna like this kid, man. You know what I'm saying? Is just like we took Talik Williams, just like we took Tate Ratledge, Isaac Tesla. You add the third guy we're gonna talk about tonight, and I think forget the number when we took him, what round, what number pick he was, what we gave up. Forget all that right now. He's here. So now you got the player, okay? And what can Tesla bring? I didn't have him on my radar. I'm gonna be honest with you. Before the draft, um,
You
I
brought
didn't
him
even.
up like the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, the last two
Yeah.
weeks I did. I heard some rumblings about him, not from the Lions' perspective, but just that he was a guy that could be looked at to be a typical, possession guy. Can bust a big play every now and then. You know what I'm saying? It can be a really good asset to an offense like the Lions. I mean, this guy is his skill set is perfect for what we need. I mean, and while we we needed a breath of fresh air on this offense, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, as much as we need defensive help, everybody knows it, corner, linebacker, whatever you want to call it. This receiving core needed a jolt, man. Whether
Let's be
uh,
honest, man. It was
yeah,
stale.
yeah,
I mean,
yep,
outside Jamison Williams, that wide receiving core is kind of stale. Like, there's nothing really explosive about Amon-Ra St. Brown.
yeah,
We know exactly what he is. He's a possession receiver. He's a guy that's underneath. He's a guy that gets open off a lot of rubs, a lot of mess routes.
yeah,
He's a guy that doesn't see a lot of press coverage, doesn't see a lot of man on the outside. Um, really good receiver though, really good player though.
yeah,
But outside of that, Jameson Williams is still a work in progress. I still
yeah,
don't believe we've seen the Alabama Jameson Williams yet
yeah,
in the NFL. Now, hopefully, we see that with us, and we don't see it from a team. We'll
yeah,
see it from him from a team in another uniform. But you're right. They needed someone in you and I, and we can take credit to this because we've been doing this for the last 3 years. When it comes to the draft, they don't always hear us immediately, but they eventually hear us. We talked
hmm,
about the offensive line last offseason. They took care of it this offseason.
yeah,
We talked about the wide receiver position last offseason. We talked about it throughout the regular season. We talked about it with the whole Donovan People-Jones experiment that was going on, and other stuff that was going on, and trading for Denzel Mims. They eventually went out, and me and you even floated around the Amari Cooper name. And there were other guys that we also talked about, but no, getting somebody who honestly we haven't seen that type of size, height, weight, speed, length, explosiveness, skill set from a
yeah,
wide receiver since what we wanted to get out of DJ Chark.
yeah,
He's what we wanted to get out of DJ Chark, a guy that's 6'3", 6'4", can run sub 4.4, can jump out the gym, jump off the field,
yeah,
can run all of those routes that
yeah,
St. Brown doesn't run for the most part, and can run a lot of those routes that Jameson Williams doesn't run. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't still need Jameson Williams to grow and flourish. We need Jameson to be able to run every route in the book also. But you're right, we needed somebody else that could be a playmaker.
Hmm.
Jameson Williams, we being honest about it, the playmakers on offense are him and Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah,
Like the guys who can change the scoreboard, so to speak. Like it's him and Jameer Gibbs, and that's really it. Until you get St. Brown down into the red zone, and then you're talking about Laporte and everything. But
yeah.
I'm right along with you though.
Yeah. Yeah. 6'4", 215 pounds, man. You know what I'm saying? That's a skill set other than Tim Patrick that we didn't have. You know what I'm saying? Well, we didn't have a guy, a little bit taller. I think he's a crisp route runner. He works the sidelines. I like him. I really do. I think this is a perfect guy for our team, man. And I think that getting him when they got him, I'm always proponent, like we were saying in the pre-show, if you like a guy, you get him, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't care where you take him or if he's on your radar and at that slot or you think he's not going to be there next time around. This remember, if I'm not mistaken, Lions didn't have a fourth round pick. If I'm not mistaken, you know what I'm saying? So they kind of maybe you could have said, all right, we'll wait another 32 players and take them the next time around. Maybe I'm pretty sure that's not how their board was, but I'm just trying to be more rational. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they said, hey, let's get them now while we're here. You know what I'm saying? And then we go from there. But like I said, the only problem I had with it was I wanted Landon Jackson. That's it. You know what I'm saying? But the player, man, I don't think it's one of those project where he not for sure is
No,
he even going to be out there. I don't think that at all. I think that he will be out there. And people would say, well, why would you say that? Well, I'm glad you put that up. I mean, the athleticism just shows you right there, like who he is. You know what I'm saying? 4'4" in the NFL, that's NFL type speed, what you want. You know what I'm saying? Is it lightning fast? Yeah, to an extent. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what pads on when you get him on the line of scrimmage. If he facing against a physical corner, a physical slot receiver rather, a physical slot corner. Excuse me. I don't know that part of it, the physicality part with him. I think that's going to be a learning experience. But um, man, I mean everything from all accounts that he's a very crisp route runner. You know what I'm saying? Like you say, you don't get overly too excited about rookie camp when they're wearing shorts and not even playing against one competition yet. But it is what it is, and you
right.
heard that he catches everything. So I mean, I'm just looking at you add him to what we already have, in St. Brown, and you just mentioned everybody, and then a healthy Montgomery, Gibbs coming back, Laporta. I mean, I just like the direction of this offense because I think the tone's going to be set within our division that you're going to have to be able to score points. I know defense is what ultimately won the Super Bowl last year, basically, but the fact of the matter is the NFC North is going to be offense, man. Just like the AFC West, remind me of those years where, first one to 40, 35, 40 points going to win every week. So I think we need that. You know what I'm saying? And then being able to make a stop at the end of the game when we have to and get off the field. I think that's how we're going to have to play it right now until we get everybody back defensively healthy and our scheme, put together. So yeah, I like him, man. I like everything about him. I had to look. I ain't gonna lie. I had to look at some tape to kind of see, his tendencies and where he likes the ball out in front. You know what I'm saying? And he could really go up and get it. You know what I'm saying? Good in the red zone, like you said. I think that's let's highlight that. I think we're gonna talk about that all summer. I think that the red zone passing attacks gotta be better. I think a lot of times golf would get inside of 20 and would turn around and just hand the ball off. And I think that Washington, I looked at that Washington game, and that's what we kind of did, and they were kind of waiting on that. You know what I'm saying? And then when it was time to, let's just say, if we in our plus side of the field and it's third down and 8, Walt, you know it's coming. You know you're looking for St. Brown. And if teams able to take St. Brown away in those spots, even though St. Brown's good at a route runner where he can shake loose and still make a play, but you're gonna have to have another guy down there to make keep the teams honest. You know what I'm saying? And I think Tim Patrick did a good job at that last year, but having just some fresh legs, man. You know what I'm saying? A different guy that kind of teams don't kind of know about right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just like I think it's a perfect
Well, I mean,
setting to
he's a guy with a dude skill set.
yeah,
Even if he never evolves into the prototypical X wide receiver that does everything in the book that you would want him to do and need him to do. If you just compliment him to what we already have, like I said, we already know what Jameson Williams is up until this point.
yeah,
Now, Jameson Williams could reach an entirely new level next season and become something that we all say, well, damn, like maybe we didn't need this other guy. But until that happens, we know exactly what Jameson Williams is. Jameson is the juice.
yeah,
St. Brown is the dependable third down guy. If we get a guy out here that's a big athlete that can
yeah,
make those big time plays downfield with the ball in the air,
yeah.
that complements everything else we already have. And like I said, we already know what Sam Laporta is. So, if you look at his overall combine, talking about a guy that was had an overall athletic score of 96. And you see right there that rated him first overall. That right there is in combination of his height, his weight, his hand size, wingspan, his bench press, his 40 time, 10-yard split, vertical jump, all of that stuff. And this is what I like as well, is the fact that he showed up at the combine and he did every damn thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
yeah,
don't tell me they didn't pay attention to that. He
yeah,
don't have any gaps in his board. Look at this. He did every single thing. And he did everything well. Like this
yeah,
is something that people need to pay attention to.
yeah,
He wasn't average in none of these. The 40, the 10-yard split, the vertical jump, the broad jump was damn near 11 feet. The three-cone drill, the 20-yard shuffle, even his
yeah.
bench press. Now I get it, it wasn't 25, it wasn't 30, but he's a wide receiver. 17 bench press,
It's damn
17
good.
reps at 225 is still pretty damn good for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Now what I do want to bring up, and I'm gonna get to this graphic in a second because this is something because you got to be fair about it. Got to be fair. So I went back. I went on PFF. I looked up a lot of his numbers, not necessarily the catches and yards and all this other stuff, but I did want to look up and see exactly how he was utilized at Arkansas because the word initially when he came out of Arkansas was that his lack of production was due to being underutilized, and that's true. But it also makes me wonder why they lined him up where they lined him up all the time and why they utilized him as little as they did. So, in your estimation, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, for me, I think that him. You talking about him as the player?
Yeah, as far as at Arkansas in regards to the lack of production, and
Oh,
because I
okay.
mean, you know how when it comes to a wide receiver, you can't always blame lack of production on them and not being good. A lot of times, the quarterback does play the key role in that.
Yeah, I think the quarterback was horrible. I mean, that's number one. I
Well,
mean, he was.
KJ Jefferson was there for a minute, and then he left, and then yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
But dog, they got a
I
good
can't.
one
I
now,
can't
though. I
think. I
think.
can't think of his name on top of my head. Excuse me. Sorry for not knowing that. But my thing is this. I looked at individual matchups. I mean, that's what I try now. Ever since I've been doing the show with you, I kind of try to look at stuff individually. You know what I'm saying? Even though, because a guy could, some guys you brought up, KJ Jefferson, like he's a guy that I really like, but it's like the team was horrible. You know what I'm saying? And it's sort of like, or they wasn't even good enough to get on TV and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people get skewed and they say, well, you picked this small school guy from Arkansas, that can't play. Why didn't you just take a chance and pick Isaiah Bond? So I'm just making an
Well, we
example.
know why.
Yeah, we know why. But what I'm saying is those numbers that you put up, Walt, is off the charts, man. And I didn't even think about it that way. How you just put it about him doing everything. I mean, like you said, that's rare. Him as a player, I seen a guy. He instantly I thought of. I'm gonna just tell you, don't laugh. Everybody, don't kill me. I thought of Ed McCaffrey. I did. I had to try to find a a good,
He's a little bit more athletic, but I see that
yeah,
like the athletic profile.
yeah,
Because
and
he's got
McCaffrey.
that body type that he's probably gonna fill out like McCaffrey filled out. Like dude might get to 225, 230.
Yeah, yep, yep. 2 feet. I think they round about. I think McCaffrey's 6'5",
Yeah.
and Tesla is 6'4". So, him as a player, I think that Walt is all subjective, man. I mean, because some people could say, well, it's like you said, he didn't get the ball enough. They didn't throw the ball. He didn't have hella. I don't even think he had over 50 catches, if I'm not mistaken, in his stats. And it was like you said, why not you, but why would you take a guy that hasn't really done much? You know what I'm saying, in the system? But I just look at, you can use that skill set, man. That skill set is absolutely needed on this team, and when it comes to you know being able to use them correctly, I think that not being able to have to be the number one guy right off the bat. You know what I'm saying? I like Malik Neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Even though Malik Neighbors is a dog, but what I'm saying is you're not expected to come right in and be the number one guy. And I think that taking that pressure off of him right off the bat, I think will be fine. And plus, you're playing on the offense with Jameer Gibbs, a guy who led the NFL in touchdowns last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown has had consistently, a couple years now over 100 and something catches. You got Jared Goff, who's a pass first quarterback, that type of thing. When he gets his rhythm. So I like it, man. With the combination of offensive line, our running game. It's going to be interesting now. John Morton, new offensive coordinator. I think people don't really bring that up enough. That it's going to be a transition. How is he going to use them, man? How is he going to be able to use his skill set? And I think that's up to the coaching staff to be able to um, use coach staff. And I'm glad you put this graphic up because I do believe in big games. I do believe players perform and players play and players make a name for themselves. And um, per that schedule, I mean, they didn't have a hella difficult schedule, but you got your Tennessees on there, your LSU, your Mississippi State, you know what I'm saying, Texas, obviously. So I mean, he's right in the range of being like he's a third receiver, you know what I'm saying, based on those numbers. Now, the number could change and he could be more of a threat, but right now on this team, you know what I'm saying, you would think with St. Brown and Jameson Williams that he definitely Walt at best, man, a third receiver. I mean, and that's all you can ask for. I mean, and I don't kill Holmes for taking him. People say, well, why the hell would you take him a third round and he's not a featured receiver, which nowadays just throw that out the window, man. You know what I'm saying? I just think you get players with a certain skill set for your team, especially with the Lions. I mean, people just don't want to believe it. I think sometimes we do have luxury picks, and I think that this was a luxury pick instead of course, we could have got a DN. You know what I'm saying? And it was plenty of guys available. They still could have got, but I think that the risk, the high risk, high reward for this guy right here, this particular guy for our offense, I think it's just going to outweigh anybody we could have got on defense, in my opinion, at this point in the draft. You know what I'm saying? Because they'll rather say, you know what, I'm going to take my chance on the Keith Cooper from Houston, an undrafted free agent. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to take Tesla here at this spot, and then I'm gonna fill out the rest of my roster, elsewhere. So, um,
Well, that and also people have to remember that a lot of us, well, of course, even outside of me and you, a lot of us already believe that wide receiver was a need on the team, though. So you can't be mad at them taking one, and
yeah,
you can't be mad at the organization for not drafting or not addressing the needs in the order that you wanted them to address them in. We
yeah,
knew wide receiver was a need, whether they felt like they wanted Matthew Golden in the first round, or they wanted Tesla in the third round, or they wanted whoever in the second round. They felt like the dude was on the board that they wanted and they went and got him. They've said for the last 4 years, And for Lions fans that have seen some very paltry NFL rosters here in Detroit, they've said from the get-go, we have to infuse this roster with talent consistently. They
Uh-huh.
don't give a damn about the position. They want talent. They want the best players. You and I talked about last year's draft consistently about how it just didn't have star feel to it. It didn't have starter feel to it. It had project feel to it. It
Yeah.
had throw this against the wall and we'll see if it works feel to it.
Yeah.
This draft feels like they wanted to completely address the talent on the team, not just that edge rusher.
Yeah.
We talked about the offensive line. They knew that they needed to upgrade the guard position, get younger. This is what me and you talked about all season while we had other Lions content creators and a lot of Lions fans saying, oh, we're fine with Graham and we're fine with Zeitler. Well, that Houston Texan game said otherwise. We talked about how that offensive line, the interior of that offensive line looked completely overwhelmed and unathletic
Yeah.
against certain smaller athletic defensive lines.
Yeah.
And we addressed it with Ratledge, who's 6'6", Frazier, who's 6'6", 6'5 and a half,
Yeah.
Mahogany last year, who we expect big things from.
Yeah.
So they addressed the draft in the order that they felt most comfortable addressing it in. And for people giving out these ridiculous concrete grades on players they don't know a damn thing about
Yeah.
and haven't seen play a single snap, I think it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Because of even if the edge rusher from Boise State, if he turns out to be a good player,
Yeah.
by his estimation, being drafted where he was drafted, if he turns out to be a 6-sack guy as a rookie or a 5-sack guy as a rookie, that's a success.
Yeah. On this team, it is. Yeah. Yeah. They
Well,
didn't get no.
even out of a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick, it's still success. You have to realize that you're not going to solve everything in the first round for people who are just so fixated and focused on the edge rusher position. But we'll get to the other players later on. But all
Yeah.
right, so back to Tesla real quick. I found some interesting stuff on him. Some of this is a little troublesome because it makes me wonder why they didn't play you outside enough. So 2023, he had an overall grade of 58.2. 2024, he had an overall grade of 69.1. He played in 13 games in 2024. Now, if you look at the snaps, he took 222 snaps from the slot and only 58 snaps outside. And then if you go over here and you look at his grade against man coverage, he has a man coverage grade of 60.7. Then you look at his yards per route ran. He ran 1.98, so he was averaging 2 yards per route, which points directly right back to the 222 snaps he took in the slot. And then if you look at his 2023 numbers, he took 215 snaps from the slot
Yeah.
and 144 outside. So they completely reduced your snaps outside dramatically for a reason. And like I said, when you go back to his grade versus man coverage, you're talking about 60.7. But
Yeah.
this right here kind of trumps that a little bit because he had 7 deep catches, meaning 20 plus yards downfield, 25 plus yards downfield. He had 7 of those for 277 yards. That's tremendous. So when they gave him the opportunity to make plays downfield, he did make them. But when you go back and you watch him on film, and this is what's scary, and this is what people have to really pay attention to when it comes to these athletes. You can have all the athletic measurables. If you can't separate, because separating is a skill, separation is foot quickness, foot separation is short area quickness, explosiveness, shiftiness. It's not just being tall, athletic, and being able to jump high. So if he can't win outside, if he can't separate, and he's just a big slot, that's fine. Because we figured that out about Keenan Allen immediately when he came to the league. When Keenan Allen was at Cal, Keenan Allen played outside a decent amount, but it became obvious once he got to the Chargers, he didn't have the physical traits to really win outside enough. He was a slot. The Bears have pretty much done the same exact thing with Rome Odunze.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to knock it if he can't win outside, but he's a damn good super slot for us, a power slot, because that's
Yeah.
what he is. If he's 6'4", 215 plus pounds,
Yeah.
you're a power slot.
He
If
should be
he's
able to
that,
win. Yeah.
yeah, that's still a win. It's still a win. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that, and I go back to the fact that him doing everything at the combine speaks volumes. Because I said the same thing when Ndamukong Suh was at the combine. The dudes who do. We talk about when you're a kid and when you was the fastest dude in the neighborhood, you didn't give a damn about racing nobody. I'll race whoever. If I was the strongest, I'll arm wrestle whoever. Those type of dudes and those type of people in general with that type of mentality, that's what carries them competitively through life. All through getting through high school football, college football, NFL football. If
Yeah.
he's that competitive, and it sounds like he is because they said in interviews they fell in love with him, and watching him on film, they immediately fell in love with him. Going back to what me and you said, though, they fell in love with him for one major reason.
Hmm.
He fills a skill set void that they know they've been missing since they let DJ Chark leave.
Yeah.
And granted, Chark didn't really do much when he spent his 1 year here, but they've been yearning for that skill set for a while.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
they hit on him, nobody's going to give a damn about giving up 2/3. That's what people got to understand too. If he turns out to be a good player, a really good player for us, nobody's gonna be talking about the 2/3 we gave up 2, 3 years from now. You're gonna be talking about, damn, y'all got Tesla in the third round? Yeah, we got him in the third round. Man, that dude's good.
Hmm. Yeah.
Let the draft play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Just what you said. And then this will put it in perspective. I mean, if you look at where we took him, well, I had, Aston Gillett was a guy. He went the second pick of the third round. Darius Alexander with the first pick to the Giants at 65. Aston Gillett was another guy quietly that I like from Louisville. Chiefs got him. And then it was Harold Fannin at tight end with the Cleveland, Darian Porter at corner, then Kyle Williams with the Patriots,
Yep.
and then it was Tesla. You know what I'm saying? Then it was Vernon Broughton and Landon Jackson. Reason why I'm reading these names because after that, I mean, you got Nick Martin who went after him. That I liked him, but I don't know. I would rather have the skill set of Tesla than Nick Martin. It was basically he's a good linebacker. I wanted him on his team, but
Oh
maybe
no,
he's
you're right. Yeah.
more of a special teamer. Princely, a Malamelian, he went later. To the Panthers. A couple pick. Jordan Birch went later. Jamari Caldwell went later to the Chargers. Savion Williams. Green Bay took two receivers. They took him too. They took him and Matthew Golden. But what I'm saying is, I mean, if you look back at it, he might he might have been the most athletic guy left, at that position. You know what I'm saying? Other than Savion Williams and Kyle Williams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not gonna kill Brad Holmes for it. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, it feels something we didn't have. So I'm really I was really intrigued on what the first reviews was gonna be on him. Obviously through rookie camps, it's real it was a situation where they were cross training Miles Frazier, Tate Ratledge, and I text you, man. And I'm like, man, I didn't really think about maybe, and I forgot that this is Dan Campbell and, Brad Holmes want versatile players, man. And you have to be able to play more than one position. And I think that offensive line could be set for years. I'm glad you put that up like that because I think we good, man. I really do. I think that we got two ballers. I think, man. Tate Ratledge might be a guy who starts right away. Maybe Miles Frazier gets some spot duty. I mean, it's going to be interesting because I don't know if I think Miles Frazier is good enough. Maybe I don't want to say he's good enough to start right away. Maybe he's the guy that's got to maybe sit and watch for a little while and get seasoned, learn the NFL game a little bit more. Obviously, Ratledge can maybe start, man. And one of them two guys got to start, man. I don't see both those guys like not starting. Do you? I mean, I don't know where this
I
is going to
mean,
shake out. It's going to be really interesting to see how this offensive line shakes out.
veterans always get first pick.
Yeah,
So Graham is going to get first pick. Mahogany, I think Mahogany's gonna he's gonna nail down the spot early. So
Yeah,
I think it's gonna come down to whether or not Miles Frazier or Tate Rallich can unseat Graham.
yeah,
That's gonna be the major thing. And I mean, I in theory, I think they would be able to from a physical talent standpoint. Now, do they have the heart as an organization to bring Graham back and then bench Graham? If Graham is being completely outplayed in practice, and then maybe even in preseason, a couple preseason appearances, do they have the non-loyalty to do what's best for the team and play the young guy?
yeah,
That's the whole thing, because I'm with you. I think both of these dudes are rocks for the future. Our offensive line is set, except for left tackle. But who
yeah.
knows?
Let's do it.
They may plan on, because they've been doing a lot of cross training. They may plan on trying Miles Frazier out of tackle. He did play some tackle when he was at LSU, and he did show them at the Senior Bowl that he could still kick out and play that position if you need him to.
Yeah,
So who knows? They got a couple offensive linemen on the interior with some versatility. Now Radlich has been a right guard his entire life.
yeah,
So, but I think it's if we're talking about who we think is going to play quicker, the fact that Miles Frazier has more versatility is going to get him on the field quicker because offensive linemen get hurt.
yeah.
So if Decker goes down for a game or two, do you feel comfortable with Frazier stepping over at left tackle? If Graham is out for a game, Miles has the ability to step in at either guard position. So I think that alone is going to get him on the field quicker. Now, if Tate proves that Tate can only play right guard and that's it, then Tate may not play too much until, if Mahogany is out, if there's a dire need at that one guard position. But
Hmm.
they good now.
Yeah,
They're good. I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if they took a tackle next year. But now that's all based upon if Manu fall, he pan out.
yeah,
But I think that ship is sailed. The fact that they drafted two offensive linemen this year,
yeah. I agree. I mean, I'm not even counting him even in the equation anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because they did what they did, and then Ratledge and Frazier are too talented guys to just not play. I mean, I don't believe that. I don't. I just don't believe that. You took those guys just to like to have a no disrespect to Kobe Sorsdal, but it's like I don't think it's going to be a situation. I think it will be for one of them, and like you said, which one you don't know yet. You would think Tate Ratledge would have an inside track of starting right away. You know what I mean? If I had to just put a guess on prediction on it right now, I think Miles Frazier may stay to the sidelines for a couple weeks. But like you say, you never know, man. It's so many ebbs and flow during the season. After next season, we might say, Miles Frazier had 9 starts for the season. You know what I mean? Because we needed him in spot duty, and he wound up getting in there and not giving the job back, basically. You know what I'm saying? So these guys can do so many different things. I like the toughness. I think that getting back to Tesla here for a minute. I think that what's up, Bobby? What's up, Super Random, Ralphie? All you guys, man, appreciate y'all. The I think the common theme in Walt is getting guys that are tough. I really do. I think that they got a guy you got to be able to be tough on this team, man. And I think Tesla, like you said, he's a guy did all the combine workouts, did all the different what was asked of him to do. So right there you can
caught
show
the
he's
ball well,
caught the ball.
had a
You can
drop rate of 0% last year.
yeah, and he's coachable. I mean, a guy like that is coachable, man. You know what I'm saying? I bet he'll come in and do anything you ask him to do. You know what I'm saying? Basically, so
Well, he wasn't a high recruit either. People
yeah,
forget he transferred to Arkansas from. I think he came from junior college. So this is a
he is
guy with a
the
chip on his shoulder,
yeah,
also.
yeah. That's right. That's right. And like you said, Walt, forget the name on the college jersey. The minute you step on the NFL field, well, it's already happened for these young men already. The
Dogs
minute,
only.
yep, the minute you step on that field, it don't even matter, bro. Like you said, people look back and say, "Damn, they got him from Arkansas, really?" Like you said, some players like Tariq Hill. Like I've had to go back and see because I didn't even remember him too much at Oklahoma State. I really didn't. I had to go back and look like, damn, he went to Oklahoma State was balling like that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
Look how
that's
people
what.
slept on Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
Like even
yep,
coming out of high school, some publications had Justin Jefferson as a 2-star recruit, some had him as a 3. He
yep,
still got a scholarship to LSU though, and the rest is history now.
yeah. That's right. And right now, I don't feel bad at all about like coming out there with the offense that we have right now with the added guy Tesla, who's kind of like the wild card now. Remember last year, like you said it best earlier in the show. You said people would, teams would line up and they would know, okay, our big play threat is Jameson Williams and Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? Now, I think our offense, we got to get back to the unpredictability that we had. I think at the beginning of the last year, I think it was there. And then I think that we kind of telegraphed everything we were doing. We had to throw some trick play, just like Super Random said. We was a trick play team, and that's how we was getting open. That's how Laporta was getting schemed open like that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, and I don't want to say it wasn't real, but I mean, you know what I mean. I just think that those trick plays only last so they only last so far. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to
Right.
work in a playoff setting. You ain't going. You ain't running an end around, which we did is ridiculous. Remember that play that we threw to Jameson Williams wound up throwing the ball. Remember that? That was crazy. That was insane. If you go back, I
Yeah.
watched that game, Walt, and at the time we did that, that that was insane to do that play. Not just going back and looking at it, and that tells me that being super tough up front. We didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? Just that's how I felt about it. I mean, I'm the in proponent. You get up and you line up and you play the other squad. Period. Like Philly, like they say, you know what, Kansas City, they punched them boys in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? And that game was what 17 and I think it was 17-0 at halftime. I think the Eagles were eating the Chiefs at halftime, and they took everything away. That they wanted to do because they dominated the line of scrimmage, man. And for the Lions, I don't think that with this offensive line that we have, it's gonna be real interesting to see because, like you said, the athleticism I think is what we're lacking on some. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Sewell, we know he can do everything. He's dominant, but
He was
not
the
much,
only
not
athlete
not much,
until they
not much
got
else.
Mahogany.
Yeah, yeah,
He was the only athlete
yeah.
on that offensive line, man. But
So
yep.
yeah, picking up the blitzes. I think that remember Washington just the blitz was perfect, just up the middle, just constantly getting. Glasgow was getting beat. Even Taylor Decker didn't have his best game. Zeitler didn't have his best game, and it was just like,
Yeah, they was letting Jonathan Allen wreck
yeah,
shop all up
he's
there.
balling, man. The boys are balling. Give him credit. So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, if we just had to put a bow on Tesla tonight, I mean, it's like you know, this guy has something that the Lions need. Okay, and if I think that you can be really valuable and be able to make a name for himself, man. If he's able to just play and just not even, and obviously, he's like that now. I mean, to just be like you said, to come from a small college, to go to Arkansas. You might not be on TV every week like the SEC. The other teams. He's in SEC, but the other squad. So he wasn't real high profile. You can just go out there and play, man, and just be able to just take it in. Just think about you getting in a huddle with Gibbs. You kidding me? And St. Brown and Penny Sewell and Jared Goff, under center, man. Dan Campbell as your coach. It's just like there's nothing really to do but just learn, man, and learn and put what better receiver and tendencies to learn from it. And I'm around St. Brown. You know what I mean? Say what you want about him, but I would rather take pointers from St. Brown than George Pickens. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think it's more stable situation. You know what I'm saying than that. So
Yeah. Just to piggyback off that, I think with him, look at it from this perspective. We talked about it for the past couple years about how we knew exactly how teams needed to defend Detroit's passing game to stop things. You know exactly what routes St. Brown is going to run, and you know exactly what routes St. Brown isn't going to run. When you have a wide receiver that only runs like 4 routes out of the tree, that
Yeah,
changes that enables you to play defense and bring the shell up a whole lot more, especially if none of those routes are like 20 plus yards downfield.
yeah,
You know, Jamison Williams is that type of wide receiver, but the difference is when you watch how Detroit's offense has been the last 2 years, 2.5 seasons with Jamison Williams on the field, they don't utilize him the way Nick Saban utilized him at Bama. Nick Saban and Bryce Young was bombs away with Jameson Williams. So defending against Detroit for the last 2.5 seasons with Ben Johnson and Brad Holmes, Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, they looked at it as on film. Oh man, y'all got this Ferrari out there and y'all don't take him out the garage.
yeah,
Y'all got this Ferrari running around the corner to the store and to the gas station. Y'all don't let him go out there on that trail. Oh,
yeah,
bet y'all making life easier for us. Oh, y'all only give Jameson freaking Williams, one deep throw per game.
yeah,
When you have that type of speed on the field and you handcuffing yourself, you
yeah,
making it easy for the defense to defend you. Oh, y'all got that type of speed and y'all not gonna utilize it? Fuck it. We'll just
yeah,
bring everybody closer because we already know with golf, y'all not gonna throw the ball downfield more than once to him. Y'all gonna
yeah,
give Jameson Williams a screen here, a end around there, a slant where he gonna get killed.
yeah,
So hopefully, the defense is not the defense, but the offense is gonna be a lot better now. But now you have a dude out there, and that's if he pans out. What up, Marcus Willis? Now
yeah,
you got a dude out there.
yeah. What's up, Mark?
If he pans out, oh man, this is 6'4".
Yeah,
This is 4.39. This is 4.4 flat. Oh, this is
yeah,
a guy that runs flies. This is a guy that runs the corner route. This is a guy that runs the post. This
yeah,
is a guy that can run the deep dig, and we hope he can. But like I said, that goes back to if you look at the numbers that the PFF numbers and looking at how he was utilized at Arkansas, it makes me wonder: was it him just not being able to win on the perimeter, or was it Arkansas just saying he's better in the slot? We're gonna utilize him in the slot. Because even when I went back and watched him on film, he didn't separate a lot on the perimeter as much as you would think he would.
uh-huh.
But this is also a guy who, once again, he's still growing. And this is something I want fans to understand and realize too. This is a dude that only played, 1.5 seasons
Yeah,
of like
basically.
real authentic SEC football coming from where he came from. So he's still learning too. And for him to spend all of his time in the slot, he spent over 85% of his snaps in the slot
Yeah,
coming out of Arkansas. So there's going to be a learning curve and adjustment for him playing on the perimeter. Now, like we said, they may not have any plans for him to play on the perimeter.
yeah,
They may want him to be a slot, but overall, he's going to open things up for Jameson Williams too. Getting another guy out there that can run, and then that's
yeah,
going to open up the box also for Jahmyr Gibbs.
yeah. Play action should be play action should be a weapon for this team, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they shouldn't be able. If you need to go get a bucket, so to speak, you got to
I
get
agree.
the chains moving. That play action should be hell of a nah, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like you said, if you got somebody, got to be open between. You know what I'm saying? The tight end package we can send out there. You know, block and scheme. Why, Montgomery show he can pick up the block and Gibbs. You know what I'm saying? Somebody between Laporta, St. Brown, and Tesla, Jameson Williams. I mean, man, that's just like pick your poison right there, and Tim Patrick. So for me, I just think that the offense needs to click. I mean, because I think all defensively might be our I say it going into every season, man, because
At least early on.
yeah, at least early on, the offense got to be tight, man, because I think we're gonna need some help a little bit to start the season on defense. So, yeah, I like it. Like I say, I'm never gonna say adding talent to your team and adding speed, like you said, to your team, physicality,
And getting
in
better in
short,
the trenches.
yep, short yardage too. And I think man, you know how big a short yardage 10-yard move the chain pass is, Walt. I mean, with this team with Jared Goff, like you say, he don't go down the field that much. So when you on the road, just think about this scenario when you're playing. Look at our 9 road games we're gonna have to play next year. What's up, Corey? And you know how huge it is, crowd going crazy. You find yourself in a 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, and I mean, man, every time the last 2 years has happened, where St. Brown would get it, he would get it, he would get the first down, and I think Jameer Gibbs got better at it as the season went on. Where them two guys, St. Brown, Gibbs, kept the chains moving, man. Every time on a big drive on the road, we needed, we had to have it. That's why I think the Lions are good at execution wise. And as long as Tesla can get the execution, be here, be right here. I beat my man. I'm right here. I'm getting the ball at this spot. You know what I'm saying? He's got to get that in his head. Goff's going to deliver the ball, especially if it's short yardage. And I think he'll be fine. You know what I'm saying? I think he's just got to get the timing down. This team, at least last year, we don't know, like you said, with John Morton, what his more philosophy going to be. Maybe it may be a little bit the same as Ben Johnson without the trick plays. You know what I'm saying? Maybe some more shots down the field instead of throwing a flea flicker. Maybe we just flat out gonna go gangster and say, hey, go up and get it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it might be a little bit more of those opportunities out there. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
I'm gonna agree with super random stupid. I'm
yeah,
just gonna call him Robert.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm gonna agree with him, man. I just feel like you got too many weapons out there for you to not be out there dealing. Get these
yeah,
dudes to football, bro. Like I don't want no excuses.
yeah,
When Jameson is even, he's open. When
yeah.
Jameson is deep, he's open.
Yeah.
Jameson rarely struggles outrunning double coverages. When
That's right.
Jameson is
Yeah,
open, you feed him the football.
yeah,
Period. When Tesla is open, if he turns out to be that type of factor player this season as a rookie, get him the football. This is what I'm with, and I agree with this 1,000%. And I don't want to go back and watch that Commanders game because I saw this man playing that game, and he looked like the rookie.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, I'm gonna need this man to get the people to put the football that he's supposed to get it to. Period.
yeah,
Get these dudes to football. Jameson Williams, year 3, like full season.
yeah,
Get Jameson the ball. Start
yeah,
utilizing him more. Get Laporta the ball. I want to see these dudes make big plays. We can't always depend on 14 play drives
yeah.
and not turning the ball over. Teams are on to that now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We needed some one hitter quitters out there for sure. You know what I'm saying? One hitter quitter, man, because like you said, things gonna change. People gonna come up, but I think what can keep everybody honest still, you still got Gibbs and Montgomery. I think
Yeah.
that's you know what I'm saying. Well, I think that does account for a lot. You know what I'm saying because teams can't load up and give. Remember, Gibbs got a lot of those yards too when Montgomery was out. You know what I'm saying? And he was damn near the only guy back there. So we know that Gibbs can get loose, man, at any time. And I think with him, I think he's the X factor. Just not the X factor. Though Jameson was the X factor, but just by him just being his presence out there could be able to open up for the other guys. You know what I'm saying? Especially I think early on, Walt, because what's the old saying? Once they get tape on you in NFL, then it's not gonna come. So I think early Tesla might have some good opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Because now teams just kind of figuring it out. You know what I mean, and trying to see where he's gonna fit in with this offense. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I totally agree with y'all. I mean, we gonna have a whole golf discussion. I think this year is gonna be the year. You can circle it. You can put an asterisk by it. I mean,
Because
we've
there's
been
a lot
kick,
on his shoulders.
we've been kicking the golf can down the road the last 2 years, and now I think this is finally the year where the brother's gonna meet the road with Jared Goff, man. You know what I'm saying? Where he gonna be our guy the next 3 4 years, or if he just flame out and it just they got some questions to answer here if it doesn't work out. But I don't see that happening. I really don't because just going off of how he played, his tendencies. I mean, I think that that's why they made this pick, Walt, because they, like you said, I mean, damn, how many weapons you're going to give them, but I think that this is hopefully going to unlock something new with him and this offense as a whole. So
No, no excuses.
yeah, no excuses,
There,
man.
there
I
there's no excuses, bro.
don't agree.
You look at that wide receiver room. You look at the tight end you got. You look at the offensive line you got. You look at that backfield you got. It's no excuse.
Yeah,
Unless something happens where we suffer the same type of injury luck
on
on the
offense.
offensive side of the ball that we
Yeah,
suffered on defense. Now, if that happens, that's different. But as long as no team stays healthy, it's a 17 game season. Everybody's beat up. It
yeah,
all depends on when you suffer those injuries and when you start getting guys back or whatnot. But no, if they stay relatively healthy,
hmm
there's no reason. I don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, Panay Sewell didn't do his job against this team and all. There's not going to be any of that. Can't be any of that. You can make the argument that this man may have one of the three, four best overall offenses in football. If you're talking about offensive linemen, backfield, weapons on the perimeter.
yeah.
So yeah, there's really no legitimate excuse anymore for it at all, man. So, but want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, man. Couldn't do the Tesla video that I wanted to do because YouTube slapped me over the head with a mallet and told me
Yeah,
to take it down, punk.
yeah,
So they took it down for me. But
yeah.
we all good, man. We're gonna jump into the next video in a few days, though. Who
You
was the
want to go?
fourth? Who was the fourth pick? That was
The fourth guy was it Hassani? I think it might have been Hassani or Dan. I know Dan Jackson.
was it
Let's say
Gilbert? Not Gilbert. It was
Miles Frazier.
yeah.
It was Miles
I thought it
Frazier.
was Miles Frazier in the sixth.
I think. Hold on, I can look it up real quick. I thought it was. Oh boy, let's see here. Draft. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Miles Frazier.
Oh, cool. We get to do offensive line talk.
Yeah, Miles Frazier. Yep, Miles Frazier, Hassani, Dan Jackson, and then Dominic Lovett was the last pick. So
Peace out. Yeah, so we got the schedule release coming up tomorrow.
yeah, schedule release. Undrafted free agents. It's worthy to talk about. We'll get into it though. You know what I'm saying? I think this next video, Miles Frazier is my favorite pick of the draft, man. Because I was just a guy. We were really high on him. I was. I'm glad the Lions got him. You know what I'm saying? I think he's just too good to be just sitting. You know what I'm saying? I think that it's gonna shake itself out. You know what I mean? How the season plays out. You know what I mean? But I think he's a big part of the future, man. I think he's got a load of talent. I think everybody's gonna be happy with him too as well. So, um, yeah,
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we do got the schedule release tomorrow.
yeah,
Uh, we should be back tomorrow night
yeah,
because there's gonna be a lot to talk about. People gonna start making predictions on what they think this how they think the season is gonna go
yeah,
off a schedule release, but it's all in good fun, man.
yeah.
So, like I said, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We will be back with the schedule release in a few hours. Till next time, one pride.